Hi, I'm Rachel Burdis. I'm the Inward Investment Manager at Invest North East, and I'm joined today by Jamie Hardesty of Sunderland Software City, and we're talking about the recent launch of the North East Tech Cluster Report, which is one of 12 regional reports created and promoted by the UK Tech Cluster Group. So hi Jamie, thanks very much for joining me.
Hi Rachel, nice to be here, thank you.
Good stuff. I say joining me obviously virtually because you're not even in the UK at the moment, but we'll not get onto that, I'll just be jealous. So can you tell me a bit more about your role at Software City and what actually Software City is?
Yeah, absolutely. So my role is Head of Communications and Head of Stakeholder Engagement. Software City is an organisation which has existed for over a decade now. And what we do is we support the growth of the digital technology sector. Classically, we've focused on digital growth in Sunderland and the acceleration of the tech sector right across the Northeast. We support the tech sector in a number of different ways. So we offer business support. So companies which might just be an idea right now, or could be very early stage, or even SMEs, and we look to help them with things like market research, market intelligence, if they're trying to develop something, so technical specifications, and innovation road mapping as well. So how they can grow and realize their potential. We do a lot with skills and training. So we look at the skills gap in the region, and we look at the kind of both technical and non-technical skills that people need to succeed into the sector. We have an innovation offering, which is led by the Digital Catapult Northeastern Tees Valley. So we work with both tech SMEs and large corporations to look at business challenges, and we also do digital adoption as well. So not only do we look at helping companies embrace really advanced technologies, we also help companies who are just starting to digitize, maybe more traditional companies who are trying to learn about digital and are really trying to embrace technology. So in a nutshell, we're very much here to support the growth of the technology sector.
Perfect. And obviously yourself and the team were responsible for the Northeast Tech Report. What's the connection there with UK Tech Cluster Group?
So this was a really exciting project for us. So essentially, we chair an organisation called the UK Tech Cluster Group. And what this is it's a self-assembled group of like-minded organisations. So organisations like ours, which very much represent grassroots communities of technologies across all corners of the UK. So we've got organisations in Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, literally east of England, every region of the UK, and essentially we're here to support one another, to share knowledge, to share opportunities, and to ensure that the voices of tech communities are certainly heard and amplified. So essentially, we were approached by London Tech Week, which London Tech Week has huge success in drawing eyes to the UK tech scene, and classically it's focused on technology companies residing or operating in the capital, which is great. But I think in fitting with government's levelling up agenda, this year the London Tech Week really wanted to be more inclusive of UK tech as a whole. So obviously, given the nature of our organisation and our cluster group, they felt that we were perfectly positioned to really bring to life the tech ecosystems of the UK which operate outside of London. So we essentially, given COVID, we weren't really able to do physical events, and we wanted some assets which really demonstrate and describe the complex nature and interests of UK ecosystems. So we designed a report, and when we thought, rather than just doing one report coinciding with the week itself, we'd actually turn this into a real year-long initiative. We have 12 clusters of tech, which represent the 12 clusters around the UK. So what we decided to do was to have a monthly focus on each cluster. We were lucky enough that the Northeast was chosen to lead the initiative. So we went first, and we took a real in-depth look at kind of the key facets and strengths of our tech sector. So we talked about who the leading operators are, so the real big sort of tech companies in the region, exciting scale-ups and startups, and we looked at some of the hotspots of technology as well, some of the areas in which the Northeast is quite fast-growing or certainly has a legacy in as well.
Brilliant. And I guess, can we go into that a bit more? So what were the key highlights of the Northeast report for you? I mean, clearly the region has repeatedly proven itself as a really strong, attractive proposition for inward investment. What else would you say has been kind of a highlight of the Northeast?
So I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of subsectors of the wider technology sector that we could have doubled down on, but we evaluated the Northeast's its legacy strength and emerging businesses which have not only started but have scaled across the region in the past sort of 3 to 5 years. And we looked at AI, so artificial intelligence, and the application of AI. We've got equally exciting companies who are very proficient in AI, like a Word Nerds, for example, which have been a real success story for the region in the past couple of years. We looked at immersive technology, obviously. So the Northeast has got a real immersive strength, which I think has been really coordinated, especially in the past 2 to 3 years, certainly with the emergence of Proto, with Vertigo Labs, with the digital catapult, and certainly with the legacy of the community which exists. People have been operating in immersive before I think we even really called it immersive technology, And finally, we looked at Industry 4.0. Of course, the Northeast, as I think a lot of people will know, has a huge legacy in advanced manufacturing and engineering. And actually, it's really an interesting time for the region in looking at the blend of more traditional industry with the wider digital sector, and looking at how we can innovate when it comes to traditional industry. So I think, especially when you look at the sort of the strengths that we have, from Berwick right of the way down to the bottom of the region to Redcar and Cleveland, and you look at some companies which might be companies and may have been growing for decades upon decades, and now looking at how they're applying technology to their offering and really opening up new markets is really a joy to behold for the region. So we were really proud to feature that one as well.
Definitely. And I guess, so picking up on a few things that you've mentioned there, these companies who have either invested into the region or have been born and kind of scaled up here, they haven't done that alone, have they? I mean, they've certainly had a lot of support from either specialised networks like Digital or Northeast, whereby there are specific leads to help figure out what these companies need in order to grow, and how to access that finance, how to access that peer-to-peer mentoring support and things. I mean, can you talk a bit more about kind of the accelerators that we have and the range of business hubs?
Yes, absolutely. So I think I've always believed that a tech sector's strength relies very much on networking and community, and we are lucky in the Northeast, right, that we have people who are experienced, who are willing to help and coordinate the charge and the growth of the sector. You can go back to sort of 10 years ago when the Difference Engine started in Middlesbrough, which was, I believe, one of 2 or 3 of Europe's first accelerators. The Ignite Accelerator started right here in the Northeast, which has gone on to have success all across the UK, from Manchester to London to Northern Ireland. We've got Digital City in Teesside, which absolutely looks at coordinating effort and really providing mentorship from some of the more established tech companies in the company to the emerging companies coming through. Similarly, at Software City ourselves, we've always supported companies not just in Sunderland but in the Northeast, and I think it's we've got networks in the region which aren't sort of solely focused just on one subsector. So if the chances are, if you're wanting to do something around health tech, you've got North Star Ventures and their connections. You've got Newcastle University, which has had a real legacy in leading the UK's ageing charge and looking at how we're using technology to really support our older population and to look at ways in which we can innovate to improve healthcare, across the world. It's really exciting. Equally, we've got a large density of SaaS startups in the Newcastle basin as well. So there's really what I guess what I'm trying to say is there isn't one sole focus of the city's tech, of the region's tech offering. Rather, there are different kind of pockets and different networks which you can really tap into. So, for example, if you were looking for investment, or you were looking maybe for a mentor or some feedback on a new product, or you were looking at maybe getting connections that will help you scale, there's certainly an appetite and a network which exists across the region which can help you do that.
Absolutely. And I think that's all very relevant to companies coming here, that they won't just be left to it. There's certainly a lot of support available from a number of different specialists to help them along their journey. One thing you mentioned earlier was about Proto, and that's kind of something we haven't talked about yet, was the particular facilities where we're world leading, our centres of excellence in digital construction, and we have 2 in cybersecurity in Newcastle City alone. Proto is obviously a specialised building for emerging technologies. It has or provides access to a kit for content creation. So it has motion capture, it has 3D character capture, and that's a very unique building in itself. But even you mentioned Newcastle University, you're right, so they have National Innovation Centre for Data and for Ageing. So that's 2 national centres based just in the Northeast and have beat out competition from anywhere else in the UK. Do you think that is because of our expertise here and the kind of ecosystem that we've built up and perhaps a lot of people aren't aware of, but it's been bubbling along and now we're trying to break out and really promote the region?
Yeah, absolutely. So you've said it yourself. You look at the assets, and it's both it's people and place, right? You've got 5 very strong universities, each with different sort of specialisms within the wider technology sector. You've got the collaboration of Newcastle Helix, which, as you say, Rachel, houses the National Innovation Centres for data and for ageing. You've got Proto as well, which I believe was the first centre of its kind in Europe for emerging technology. So you've got, if a company lands here in the Northeast, it's got access to a wide talent pool, and it's got these regional assets which facilitate cross collaboration, which a lot of companies in the pipeline, right, of the Northeast tech sector are already embedded in, or already benefiting from. So the chances are you can speak with your peers and be pointed in the right direction to take advantage of the assets that you'll actually need, which will benefit your business. You look at certainly the development of Newcastle University in particular within the tech sector in the past few years. You've got specialisms in data, in cloud computing. So you've very much got access to real specialist technical talent, which sits on the doorstep. And I think that's actually something that other ecosystems would certainly marvel at.
Brilliant. And I guess, so the last question for myself is, it is a digital world. Everybody is clearly working from home, or in your case, working from home in Sicily, which I'll not get too jealous of. But what is the benefit to companies actually setting up a physical space or a hub or an office in the region? Are there certain things that you just can't do without?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it being a digital world, right? We're all connected, and that's amazing. But equally, I think you can look at it 2 ways, right? You can look at it inwardly from your organization, having a base and having that sort of cross-pollination of different people from different teams and departments. And I think that's where the best ideas really happen, when people get together, and it's that fusing of minds. Equally, from more of an outward perspective, if you're here in the region, you can benefit from the network and the community which exists. You can absolutely get amongst what's going on. You can you can come in, see the buildings, see the assets that we have, and really understand them. I think you know, of course, you can read something from a web page, or you can have a phone call, and that's absolutely great. But I think when it comes to the magic of what can happen here, it's absolutely, it's paramount that you come and that you experience it, that you live it, and you continue to be a part of it.
Yeah, perfect. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Jamie. Really appreciate your time. That's great.
No problem. You're welcome. I'll see you soon, no doubt.
Yeah, thank you.